I know I'm a day late, but I've been sick this entire week, so I haven't been able to do any recording or editing or, you know, background creation. So my Oscars video might be a little bit delayed and I might be a little bit quieter this video as well just to not strain my throat because it hurts like hell right now. But I figured I have to do this anyway because I've made myself this duty of trying to do the good, bad, and ugly every single week. And this week was actually pretty damn good. I was able to see every movie right before I got sick, which I was really happy about. Um, I think the only one that was rough was one of the ones in the bad, which I ended up watching right before I was sick, which was pretty perfect. But let's get right into this. If you haven't seen my reviews already, I really enjoyed Hoppers and the Bride. I won't talk too much about them here because, I just did two 10-minute length reviews for both of them each, and I'll try to put them right here if I do remember that. Um, I think they were both very enjoyable. Hoppers is one of the better Pixar movies that's come out in recent years, but Pixar has been on quite a roll. So even with Hoppers being, better than Elio, and me really enjoying Elio, it's it's pretty damn surprising how great it is. I mean, Hoppers was so enjoyable, and if you've seen I said in my review, but if you've seen my Super Bowl reaction to the trailers, I wasn't too confident in this movie and just thought it was going to be a really, really, really bad version of Wild Robot, and I'm happy it wasn't. It felt like a Pixar movie. It had the heart of a Pixar movie, and it was just so enjoyable and very pretty. And for The Bride, a movie that was in my top 10 anticipated movies of the year, ended up sort of living to my expectations. I don't know if by the end of this year if it'll be in my top 10, but it did absolutely do its work for me. I was super excited for this movie after Frankenstein, and I think Christian Bale and Jesse Buckley did such a fantastic job here. And of course, this being Maggie Gyllenhaal's second movie ever directed, I think she did a pretty solid job here as well. I said in my review, the Frankenstein story is just something I enjoy a lot, and I think they did a pretty damn good job at it. And for the other two movies, which I did not do reviews for, Young Blood, which is a hockey film, which if you don't know, I'm a humongous hockey fan, so that automatically just gave it points to me. I think the hockey that's shown in this movie is really damn good. I believe this is the director's debut. I could be wrong on that, but I think he did a damn good job at doing like a coming up story for a young black man in hockey. And if you know hockey, we don't really have many black people in our sport, which is very unfortunate. And I'm happy it's growing more and more as the years goes on. When I was a kid, I could only think of like one or two, maybe, black men in hockey, which is very unfortunate. And it was just nice to see a story about that and how, him coming to his senses on how he needs to stop fighting people, his growing relationships with the team and the coach, and, just that whole final game 7 was just such a joy to watch. And, to see him and his team overcome everything and still end up winning was just so fantastic. And Ashton James, who plays Dean Youngblood, I think did such a great job. Maybe I hope we can see him in more things in the future. If that actually was him on the ice and skating, I think that was pretty brilliant. It seemed like everyone knew how to play hockey, knew how to skate at least, so that was very enjoyable. And I'm just a huge sucker for sports movies, and Youngblood just did such a great job at making me feel like I'm watching something I should be rooting for, something to be cheering for. And for the last movie of the week that I thought was good was a Netflix original, War Machine. War Machine. I thought this was just going to be another. Okay, someone's doing work outside. I thought this was going to be another shitty war movie or your average war movie, your average dad war movie. And while I do feel like it is a dad movie, the twist of it being, what is going on outside? It's like construction or some shit. The twist of this being a, a robot mech alien thing killing everybody, and you have so many of these cool death scenes. It's unbelievable. I really love the twist, and while I didn't crazily enjoy it, it was a very fun twist that got me right back sucked into the movie. And while I did love how Alan Ritchson started this movie off, I was kind of scared where we were going. I thought we were just gonna get like one of these movies where his brother dies and he has to, get back into it to enjoy his life and enjoy his surroundings with his other soldiers. But instead, we sort of get that, but it comes along with this twist of the giant robot mech alien garbage, which I absolutely loved. And you know, I might be a hater of a lot of dad movies, but I really enjoyed this one. I just thought it was such an out of left field pull to do that, and it really did kill it. I think this movie's action is pretty damn great. The acting is pretty okay, and you know, I mean, a lot of this movie just comes down to that twist. It was just so much fun. The second that happens in the movie, everything just gets elevated to 10. And I didn't see my ratings for these, but Hoppers and The Bride I gave 8 out of 10s. Youngblood I gave a 7 out of 10, and War Machine, you know, I'm gonna give a 6 out of 10 because it still feels very daddy. Maybe some of the writing is a bit dodgy here and there, but I really like the story in this one. I don't know why. It just sucked me in. You know, when I turn into a dad, I'm gonna be giving so much money to these companies for these types of movies, man. I don't know what it is. And for the bad this week, we have two movies. One which I really wasn't expecting to be in here, and I'll get to that in a bit. But the first one here is Dolly. I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't too excited for this one, and I was expecting this to be an ugly, but you know, it kind of sucked me in a bit in certain scenes. Going into this, I was expecting some Texas Chainsaw Massacre, just a very very massacred version of it. And while I do think it still feels like that, I do think this movie still feels very barbarian-esque. And if you don't know, that's one of my favorite horror movies of this decade. Probably my favorite horror movie of this decade, period. And I think Dolly does such a good job at uh, having that weird relationship with Dolly and the main girl actress. And you get a few very good gory scenes here and there in the movie, but all in all, just a very, you know, throw it at the wall script and story that we've seen so many times. And the other movie, in The Bad Protector, uh, you know, most of this movie I didn't expect it to be this bad, and it was really, you know, going for me, and I really did enjoy this movie, and I was planning on giving it a 7 out of 10, but I can't lie, the ending is so bad, I dropped it all the way to a 4. Um, Protector completely ruined everything for me the second the ending happened. And I understand, I really like bleak endings in movies, and I was going to do a whole review for Protector talking about it. But when your bleak ending is kind of just rubbish and just doesn't feel like it does the character justice in any way, I'm just not going to be a fan of it. I really just did not like this ending at all, and it honestly ruins almost the entire movie for me. If the whole last 10-minute sequence of her colonel talking about her and how she's been rescuing daughters that look like her daughter, which is completely okay with me, was cut out, this movie would have been a 6 or a 7 out of 10. But unfortunately, that ending just feels like it scrubs the whole point of this movie away. This could have been a John Wick trilogy thing. We could have seen the other two go straight to streaming, and you know, we could have got Protector 2, Protector 3, and her getting rid of these rings of kidnappers and stuff like this. But instead, we get the really garbage ending, which could lead to a sequel. But it's just, this could have been the John Wick for women, and of course we had Ballerina, but I mean like its own franchise for women. But instead, it just turns into complete garbage. I don't know. It just ruins everything for me. I really was pissed about that ending, and I was leaving the theater very upset after watching that. Thankfully, there's no ugly this week. I really did find some enjoyment in all these movies this week. As you saw, I had 4 good movies and 2 bad movies, which I still rated a 4 out of 10, which means I still had some very pretty enjoyable parts in those movies. I'm glad to say the ugly, even though I did watch 6 movies this week, and I did not include dinosaurs because I didn't finish last episode, unfortunately. Um, there just was nothing ugly for me. This was a very solid week. March is when movies continue to ramp up in quality and everything, so I'm not surprised. I'm really excited for this next week. There's a lot of horror coming out this week, so I'm hoping next week is another good week. We have so much horror movies coming out, so I'm hoping we get something good there. But if you disagree or agree, let me know in the comments below. And you know, I'll see you next week in the good, bad, and ugly, and it will be uploaded on Wednesday because I won't be sick anymore.